Hello everyone, we are moving through our series and now up to Webinar 3, Road Attribute Coding. My name is Rosie Patterson. I'm moderating the sessions and managing the online component, and our webinars have been running for between 60 and 75 minutes. And Greg Smith is with us again, being our presenter for the series, and Greg is responsible for leading IRAP projects globally. And Greg, great to have you back for the third webinar and can't wait to hear about coding a stretch of road using the VITA demonstrator. Welcome to you.
Thank you, Rose, and welcome back everyone to this third webinar. Thank you so much for taking part in the webinars so far. Hopefully they're valuable for you and interesting. From here on, we're going to start using data a little bit more heavily. And so your assignments might get a little bit more difficult from here on in. So hopefully that's a bit more of a challenge, but also helps to keep things interesting. So moving into the webinar for today, I want to begin with a quick review of that we did last time, which was on the IRAP surveys. In that one, I talked about how we can collect videos to do the surveys from, and how those videos need the GPS data. But also we talked a little about the need to collect some speed data and flow data. So last webinar, we talked about the fact that you can do a survey using off-the-shelf cameras. So that's a GoPro or a Sony camera. But you can also do surveys using an accredited system. An accredited system, it's a bit more sophisticated, usually able to collect more accurate data. And it's usually a better option to use across large-scale networks, network surveys. But it's not compulsory, so it's not mandatory that you use an accredited system. So I just wanted to emphasize that point because a few people got that wrong. It's totally possible that you can go out and do a survey with a camera that's going to get good quality images with GPS as well, even though it's not accredited. Also, just wanted to emphasize the very important part that road safety plays and safety during your survey plays. We really want to make sure every time that you're out on the road, you're being as safe as possible. The last thing we want to hear about is people doing surveys for road safety projects and themselves being involved in a road crash or getting hurt. So please do keep that in mind. So the objectives of this webinar is to know what IRAP coding is, understand the key principles about coding, be familiar with the coding process, and again, know what the standard deliverables are. If you're engaged to do a coding project, what are you expected to deliver? It's really important that you've completed the if you missed that one for whatever reason, there's a video recording of it up on the Schoolology website and you can jump in there and do a replay. For your assignment, we're going to give you a coding assignment and we're going to give you all the tips about how to do that well today. The coding assignment is going to be a 1 kilometer long section of road. So basically 10 100-meter segments of road that you're going to code. I'm going to talk about that actual road a little bit in this webinar. So, I'm just jumping forward to the next slide. So thinking about the process of star ratings and investment plans, last week we talked about the road survey phase. Now we're talking about the road coding. So typically in a project at this phase, you'll be taking the data that you collected during a survey, particularly the videos, and then recording the road attributes. In this image, it's kind of like a coding factory. One of the teams in China set up many coders. I want to say like 100 coders to do one of their really large road safety projects. It's very data intensive and it's really important to focus on quality at this point because this is, I guess, the core data that goes into the star ratings and the investment plan. So in some ways, it's the most important step in an IRAP assessment. Also, I'm giving you here a link to the new coding manual, the IRAP coding manual. Like in the survey manual that I talked about last episode or last webinar, this is in the beta edition. So this is the very latest edition. You guys are the first to see it. It's just been talked about at our global technical committee. They said, okay, it's fine to start testing this out. Really importantly, in the star rating demonstrator, you might remember in our first class where you can click the help button and there's a link to the star rating, the IRAP coding manual. This is an update of that same manual. Technically, you can continue using the existing manual that you can find online at the moment, but we're encouraging you to take a look at this one because it's the latest edition. There's not any fundamental differences between the two. We just think this latest edition explains many of the topics a little better and a little more clearly, and it reflects some of the things that we've learnt in the recent years. So while you're using this document, if you have comments or suggestions about it, we would love to hear about it, because we want to quickly, if we can, move it from beta edition to the final edition. So you can use that link there to download. So here's this next slide is really showing like the purpose of coding. What we really want to do is take these images, up on the top left-hand corner there, or a design, take that information and put it into a spreadsheet. So on the right-hand side, you can see a quick screenshot of a spreadsheet. In this spreadsheet, each row equals a 100-meter segment along the road, and each column is the attributes that we collect for each one of those 100-meter segments. This is how the core data gets stored for coding, and this is the file that we use to upload into Vita. You can find a template for this data by clicking this link from our website, and you can basically download a blank template that you can write your own data into. So when we do the coding, we're basically finding a way to translate the information that we see on this image in the video or on the design and record it into a spreadsheet like this. Generally speaking, there's 3 different systems that can be used for coding. So the demonstrator is the first one, and that one is what you used in the first session, and it's what we're going to use in this webinar as well. It's available in vita.irap.org, and it's pretty good for coding like single locations, single 100-meter lengths of road, or short lengths, and we're going to be using it to code a 1 kilometer length of road. It's pretty good for doing that sort of thing. As you get to longer sections of road, and particularly if you're looking at designs, we have this brand new app called the Star Rating for Designs app, SR4D. You're going to see that on the dashboard in Vita when you log in quite soon, if not already now. It's just been released. It was launched, I want to say 2 weeks ago in Washington. The World Bank helped us develop that. It's good for longer lengths of road. So if you're doing a corridor that might be 50, 60, 100 kilometers long, that's getting pretty good for doing this sort of coding using this tool. Then we get to the accredited systems. These are systems that are integrated with the accredited survey systems. So last webinar, we talked about the Hawkeye system, the ARB Hawkeye system. That actually consists of the equipment that you strap onto the car, like the videos, the GPS, the distance measuring device. But it also has software that takes all that data and presents it in an interface that you can use for this sort of coding. And so that's a very powerful system, and it's what we encourage people to use for very large network surveys. If you're looking at 2,000, 5,000, 20,000 kilometers of roads, that sort of system is going to work quite well. This is an example of one of the systems, and you can see it's quite well set up. It doesn't use any text or numbers. It uses icons for everything. So as you see something change on the screen, you can just click on the icon and it's going to record that change into the spreadsheet in the background. So you have basically 3 different systems. Technically, you can also code directly into an Excel spreadsheet if you like, but that's kind of like an advanced level. Once you really know what you're doing, it's easy sometimes just to write the data straight into the Excel system. But these 2, the demonstrator, Star Rating for Designs, are totally free. You can jump in and use them on Vita anytime you like. Just moving through to the next one. So same slide here as last week. What is an accredited coding system? Slightly different in that we're talking about coding rather than surveys. But again, it's very similar principles. If you get an accredited coding system, you can be sure it's capable of being used to do IRAP coding. It will include the capability of survey